Hey, welcome everybody. It's almost New Year's tomorrow. Anyway, I got kind of a headache going on here. Today on my live stream, today's the 30th. It's 3 p.m. episode number 29. My two special guests are from the UK. We got James Rook and Michael Webb. They're of Honey Badger Print and Paint. And I just got done chatting with them here, and I'm trying to get my mind clear. And anyway, let me bring them in, and we'll say hi to them. James, Michael, how you guys doing?
Good, thanks. Yeah, good. Well.
Yeah, I kind of have a brain fart when I get going there, and I'm the wrong things coming out of my mouth. So anyway,
that's me 24/7.
So, but yeah, it's really awesome having you guys on. Let me see who we got here in chat. Navari Makers, hello, Navari, how you doing? Non-fam, hello. 3D Maker Hub, Betty Boot 45, she's my wife in the other room. Travis Stamper, hello. Thank you very much for joining us today. Yeah, I was just watching Joel's stream, and he got that big old giant printer he's working on, and he's got like 13 or 1,400 people watching. That's just crazy. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I found it most amazing that he was opening the whole thing with a screwdriver and didn't stab himself in the hand. Because I think every single one of his live streams has some sort of savage slash across an appendage somewhere.
Yeah, I had a drill the other day in the garage, and I kept missing with my screw, and I kept hitting my thumb, and I finally went and put a glove on. So anyway, TK's 3D. Hello?
I am Mr. Work-based injury.
Yeah.
So, where are you guys from? Tell me a little bit about yourselves.
So,
Mike, first?
I'll go first. So, I'm from just outside of London. Got into 3D printing. Well, me and James got into it at the same time, really. I don't even know how long ago it was. Maybe 6 years?
About 5 years.
5 years?
About 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. We got into it. Started with like one printer. Then it spiraled out of control. And now I'm on the verge of my wife leaving me, probably.
Yeah,
that's about it.
I got one printer and I was happy, and it's like, wow, this is taking too long to print. I need another one so I can print some more parts. And then you know how it is, just gets carried away.
And I haven't got a printer that looks like this, and I haven't got one that looks like this, and then you end up with a whole room full of printers.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Yeah. So I'm from just outside of London as well, a place called Southend. As I say, me and Mike got into printing sort of around the same time, about sort of 5, 6 years ago. And mine's the same. So I started out with just the one, and then that quickly became 9, and then I'm sort of switching them out all the time and everything. Yeah, there's sort of a few mainstays that have managed to last a little while, but I change printers a lot.
You guys are on total lockdown right now, aren't you? You're supposed to stay at home, not go anywhere?
Yeah, we got some news today, which means it's getting even stricter.
Wow.
So, as after Christmas, our schools are meant to reopen on Monday, is it?
Yeah.
4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, they was meant to open on Monday, and then they're not. So all our schools are closed now as well.
You're able to go to the store, gas station, or
so yeah. Gas stations are open, and only shops that sell food.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Non-essential travel's banned. Can't mix with anyone from outside your household. Can't have anyone in the house. You're allowed 1 hour's exercise a day.
And it's apparently supposed to snow here in the next few days.
And
we've been told you're only allowed one snowman in each garden.
Yeah. And they have to be socially distant.
Yeah.
All your snowmen have to be at least 2 meters apart.
Yeah, I'd like to pull up one of your pictures here, one of your prints. If you could tell us a little bit about it. This is just really awesome.
Right, yeah. So that's the Gambody war rig.
From Mad Max, a new movie.
Yeah, from Fury Road, I think it's called, isn't it? So I see that come out, and I'm not like a massive Mad Max fan or anything. But I see the truck part come out, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. The amount of work that went into it, I was like, that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to print that. And as soon as I started printing, I was like, well, if I'm printing this, I'm going to have to print the tanker. So, literally, as soon as I finished printing the truck, the tanker went on. And then just as I got it all completed, I was like, okay, that took a fair amount of time. It's ridiculously huge.
Yeah.
And then Brian from Gambody messaged me. He was like, oh, just thought you'd like to know the fuel pod's coming out in a couple of weeks. And I was like, oh, God. I'm going to have to print that now, and I. So it just got even more ridiculously huge.
I think
Amazing.
in total it's just over 7 feet.
It's 7.5 feet, it is.
Yeah, 7.5 feet.
Well, you could
So-
always put a shelf up on the wall in the living room, right where your wife sits, and just have it right there.
Yeah. His
Yeah.
wife wouldn't sit there very long, to be fair. I think she'd immediately leave him.
Yeah. No, she wouldn't leave me. She would kick me out and stay there.
Yeah, I told my wife that as soon as I'm going to kick her out of the master bedroom and put her in one of the smaller rooms. That's going to be an additional hobby room. But she's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, it's surprising how unsupportive they are.
Yeah, my wife has a lot of opinions about it that she's very
Yeah.
vocal about. I've already been
Yeah.
kicked out of the house. So I had to build a summer house at the end of the garden. And even then I managed to sneak a couple of the prints into the dining room, but they have to go through a very strict vetting process before they're allowed in. So she's very particular with the ones.
My wife's vetting process is you're not having that in here, and then that's
Yeah.
the end of the process.
She's very angry about the droid. That she was. I secretly think she's the one who sent Stella in to break it.
TK's 3D prints. I do hangouts, and then I do live streams every week where I just have a special guest on where we're one-on-one only, and then I do hangouts where I invite people in general. So it's two different things.
So pop through D. It was about 1,500, nearly 2,000 hours for the rig to finish.
Yeah, it was like 5 printers going constantly.
Yeah,
Wow.
Constantly.
So although it's 2,000 hours, it's 2,000 hours spread across 5 machines, which doesn't
So I think
really make
I think
it any
I think
better,
I think the truck was like 2 weeks to print. The tanker was about 2.5 weeks because the tanker's in like I think it's like 11 sections or something. That tanker's in, and then all them sections all go together. Well, each one of them sections was like 52 hours.
Yeah.
How many printers do each of you guys have, and do you have a favorite?
So I've got 7. I would say my favourite is either my Sidewinder, or what I really do love is the longer LK4 Pros. Unbelievable little printers for the price. Like, they print absolutely perfect every time. So
To be fair, your Sidewinder's not really a Sidewinder anymore.
no, it's not a Sidewinder anymore. No.
Yeah,
So I went to pick up some stuff from if you're in the UK, you might know him. His name's Tony Kemp. He sells 3DQ, isn't it? Filament?
Yeah.
3DQ filament.
Yeah.
And he's also the retailer for Artillery Sidewinder in this country. And he takes back all the returns and stuff like that. And I went round there to get some stuff on him, and he was like, "Oh, do you want a Sidewinder?" And I was like, "Yes." So he gave it to me. It was a return. Unfortunately, what it was missing was all of the boards and hot end. So we did rebuild it.
So when we say that Mike's technical skills are not necessarily at the level that we would all hope they are,
They're not.
Mike rung me as he was coming back, and he was dreadfully excited. He was like, "Oh, I've got a Sidewinder, and I got it for free. It's amazing. All that it's missing is a couple of little bits." He said, "There's no power supply, but he's going to get me that, and the part cooling fan's not on there, but everything else is there. It's going to be brilliant. Oh, I can't wait to get it home." I said, "Leave it for a day. I'll come round. I'll have a look at it for you." So I went round, took the back cover off, and I stood there for a minute, and I said, "Michael, could you please take your finger and point in that machine where you think the main board is?" And he looked at it. He sort of went, there. No, that's the screen. Where's the main board? I don't know. I'll tell you where it is. It's somewhere else. Because it's not here.
So what we ended up putting, did we put an SKR board in it?
Yeah, we put an SKR.
Yeah, because we had an SKR board laying around. So we stuck an SKR board in it. But then it kept bringing up faults on the screen. And then would just stop working. So we removed all the screen and we put Octoprint, like Octopi on it.
Hey, Sam.
And it's basically a Sidewinder frame and bed.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
So, James, how many printers do you have, and do you have a favorite?
So I've got 9. My Sidewinders are both pretty much stock. I do love those. My favorite printer at the moment is probably my Creativity Elf. I love Core XYs anyway.
Yeah.
I love the dual Z stops, the linear rails, all that stuff. It produces some really nice, consistent prints. So that's probably my favorite at the moment. But I mean, it goes up and down. I mean, I've got a Prusa clone. I love that, but I think I just love that because it costs like £250 instead of like the £900 you pay for a genuine Prusa. And
Yeah,
it prints brilliantly.
I watched your video on that. That was a good video.
Yeah, that was really surprising. I really thought that was not gonna. I didn't think that. Bearing in mind how amazing, or sort of quote unquote amazing, Prusas are meant to be, I was expecting that to be a pale imitation of what a lot of people consider to be one of the better consumer grade printers you can buy. And it absolutely smashes every print I put on it. It's great.
Let me jump into some prints here and let's talk about some of these prints if you guys want to here.
So
Yeah,
that's one of mine. That was one I've done a few years ago. Another Gambody model. Just a really good, clean model. That is. It's. So when I painted that, I try and do when I paint some of mine. I try and sort of bring it to life a bit more. So where it's all mud, when you print that out, it's printed as like mud. But I didn't think it would look that great if I just, painted it brown. So I ended up using the Vallejo mud effect. So that's the Vallejo mud effect over the floor and over the truck.
Very nice.
Some of the splash mud as well splashed over it, and yeah, I really like that model. It's a good little model.
Yeah, I'm jumping between screens here. Jumping to the next one, and we all know who this is, Chucky.
That's one of mine as well.
Is that off of CG Trader? If it is, that's the same one that I bought.
Yeah, I think it is the one of CG Trader. Yeah. There's a few Chucky models, but there's only one good one.
Yeah.
It's CG Trader.
It's like $50 or $60, something like that.
Yeah. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. But I printed that all in one piece as well. And he's quite big. So he's about 400 mil tall. So he's not small.
Well, he's 1-to-1 scale, isn't he? So he's the height that he actually is in the film.
So he's close to it. And then a little while later, we had James actually commissioned someone, and because there's not a Tiffany model anywhere, like Bride of Chucky. James commissioned one, so I've now got the two of them side by side, Chucky and the Bride of Chucky.
Hey, Dum Dum, how you doing? I like that guy's name, so I gotta say it. Happy New Year. Yeah, I printed Chucky out. I was going to print him big, and I had a problem with the printer, so I wound up making him about yay tall. But I do want to print him big. That's why I paid so much for the model. I just haven't got around to it.
Just painting the jumper. That's not pleasant. That's not pleasant because it's basically a white jumper with hundreds of thin, different coloured lines. And it took some serious time. That did some serious time to paint.
Blue jeans is an interesting technique too. How you get blue jeans? What's your technique for painting old, wore-out blue jeans?
If I could honestly remember, I would tell you. I think what I tend to do is go with a darker blue than I want, and I then do a wash over it as well to get into all the crevices, and then I go over, I think it was 2 different dry brushes, medium blue and then a lighter blue just touching the edges and just the pocket areas and stuff like that. If I can remember rightly, that's how I've done denim before.
Yeah. Whenever a lot of things that I do that I've done in the past, if I want to redo it, I have to go back and look at my pictures or my post to try to refresh my memories. I'm 56 years old. I'm very forgetful. Anyway, here's
Jerry. The Bride of Chucky one was actually a private commission, so we can share that file to you as well if you want to do the pair. You want to have a matching set.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll grab it for you. Hold on 1 second.
All right. Oh wow!
There you
She
go.
looks nice.
It's Tiffany.
Very nice.
But yeah, they do look good when they're standing as a pair.
Do you guys design any of your work, or do you usually just buy it, print it, paint it, modify it?
We've done a few modifications, so it tends to be remixing. So things like I did a Magneto model, but I had a Magneto bust that was a Ian McKellen one. The Magneto model that I had didn't have a particularly good head, so we sort of remixed the heads on that. Did the same on my Mysterio model as well. So that came with sort of just a flat head or a filled dome. I didn't really like that, so we remixed those. So we remix models. It's fairly rare that we ever make anything for them. Really.
I mean, have you learned how to design from scratch? Is what I'm asking.
Oh no. I can do fusion. So
Okay.
like basic CAD stuff. If I need functional parts, then I can do Fusion 360. But yeah, I'm not really. I don't really think I'm artistic enough to sit down and actually 3D model something proportionally.
There's no way I'd understand it, so I won't even try.
Yeah,
I bought a tablet a few years ago, and it's like, wow, this is cool, and I don't use it. But, like my wife knows, I dabble in many different things, and I kind of tinker here, tinker there, and I don't really get nothing accomplished. So anyway, let's go on the next model here.
Yeah, so that's Gambody model again, and that's a Star Wars. I can't remember what it is. I think it's a TIE. It might be a TIE Interceptor. I can't remember.
Your big one's the TIE Interceptor.
Oh, I don't know what that is then.
That's the small one, which I think you threw away.
No, that's down the shop.
Oh, is it down the shop?
Yeah, that one's down the shop. So we have a 3D print shop that's local to us, okay. And he gets a lot of my overspill. So when I start to run out of space,
if anything's just too big,
3 or 4 models, and they're going down there, or 2 big ones. Yeah.
Here's a model we were talking about before the stream, Captain America from Special STLs.
Yes, so he was a saga. So for a start, the model took something like 8 months or something crazy like that for the modeler to actually finish and actually release the files for.
And when it was finished, it wasn't even complete.
Yeah, and it needed a lot of fixing and things
Craig
like
Mitch
that.
and Dan Brewster done a lot of the work on the fixing.
Yeah, it was crazy how incomplete that model was. Bearing in mind how much the group actually paid for them, which was a lot. Yeah, that was probably one of my first bigger ones, and it was one of my first mixes of resin and FDM. So my guys' arms, heads, hands, and boots are all resin, and then everything else is FDM. And as we were saying.
Here's my version. I haven't finished the face on it, but when it came to that cape, that plastic cape, or not the cape, but the flag, and the way it was shaped, I'm like, wow, I live in the USA. I can just go buy a little flag. I don't need to.
So weirdly, somewhere around here, I think. There we go. I actually even bought a flag that I could have used with it, but the problem is it's like one of the cotton ones, so it doesn't drape. it just sits. So it didn't really look the way that I wanted it to. So I decided, because I'm a moron, that I thought it'd be all right to paint. It wasn't. So as he said, earlier, yeah, as he said earlier, so the flag isn't even a proper rectangle. It's one of those examples of where an artist did something that looks aesthetically pleasing without it making logical sense in the sort of the real world. So it's it's not actually straight. It's not actually flat. So you can't use a decal. It's not rectangular. So you have to. Yeah, it's a nightmare. So
any designers that are watching, I'm assuming you can take a rectangular in the modeling program like ZBrush and just crunch it and pull it without distorting it. You should be able to.
Yeah, it comes. It does come down to the fact that artists just take artistic license.
The guy who originally designed them Captain Americas isn't a 3D printer at all. He was a 3D artist, which is why when they were delivered, they then needed a ton of work to repair them, because he delivered a great 3D piece of art, but it just wasn't printable.
Card scrapers for sanding.
Yeah, so I think I know what you mean. I have used them. Not great. What I've actually found works really well is these. They're just like spongy sanding blocks.
Yeah.
And they give you like a nice corner to get into grooves. They give you, rather than having to wrap sandpaper around a block. So it gives you a nice sort of flat surface to get smooth surfaces.
I buy standing twigs off of Amazon. They're like little twigs, so you can get in the nooks and crannies. Those are good too.
Yeah. And then I use sort of mini files and things like that.
Like a woman's nail file. They're soft.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them in the pot I use.
You jump onto another picture here.
Yeah. So Grace, to be fair, the original plan was I was going to use a decal, and I was pretty confident I was going to be able to do that. But I couldn't. So by that point, I'd already spent a fair amount of time printing the flag, and I really wasn't willing to throw it away and not use it. So that's a Barbarian that I have absolutely no idea where we got the STL from. I know it's blown up. I don't even really know what it's from. I think he's like meant to be a Conan model or something.
Yeah, I don't recognize it.
I think he's just. But I think originally he was meant to be like tabletop size, and I decided that I didn't want that. So doing all the tattoos and things on him was a cool little challenge to do. He's another example of where artists put loads of effort into the model, and then they give it kind of a naff base, where it's just. That base is just rocks.
Yeah, I've
standing on rocks.
I've got a proper hate on for bases. So many modelers just think a suitable base is a pile of rocks.
Yeah, which is fine if you make it flat, so that you can add grass, or you can add a bit of texture to it or something. It's fine, but if it's just a pile of rocks he's standing on.
I printed a Thundercats out by Fragments a few years ago, and somebody was beating him up on the fact that the muscles don't look right compared to a human. It's from a cartoon. They're cartoon muscles.
And they're cats.
Well, he is also a cat.
Yeah, it was based off a cartoon. That's why they look the way they do. He made it like the cartoon. They aren't supposed to function like human muscles because they're not. But
yeah. Someone had a pop at, so Sanix has only just released a new Juggernaut model, and someone had a pop at him because all the muscles are like ultra defined. And you go, well, yeah, the guy runs through walls. So that was one of my first attempts at leather armor, and it actually went better than I expected it to. It's meant to be an Assassin's Creed model, I think. There is actually a second part to it that I never did, and it's him literally stabbing someone. But the rest of the diorama I just didn't bother with. I wanted to practice sort of leather work and things like that. And
what's bad about a print like that, if you go really big, you'll have to have a steel rod or something in the leg, or the model will snap.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. A lot of modelers they do their model to be a certain size. And quite often, if you scale that model, you suddenly start to
the
find
weight tolerances just don't work when you scale them up sometimes. So the one on the war rig, I noticed, so the suspension on the truck works really well, but where I scaled it up 175%, the truck is actually too heavy for the front suspension. So I actually had two XYZ cubes I've been doing to test the printer. So they're actually underneath the axle on the front of the truck, because at that size, it's just too heavy for the front suspension to cope with. Because it's all active suspension and it moves, because it's now a lot heavier, it sinks and the wheels sort of turn inwards. But we've done a lot of big stuff, and you do find when what works well at one size, the actual balance and the tolerances don't always work when you scale it up. It changes.
Yeah, I've got a few models where I took a wooden dowel and I just painted the wooden dowel to match the background or something, so it's not that noticeable.
Yeah. So Dum, we don't really use Blender. So slicer-wise, we use Simplify 3D for pretty much everything. I actually use Prusa Slicer for the Prusa just because it's already set up and the profile's pretty perfect for it. But we don't do any of our own modeling. So if we have to do repairs, then repairs are either Mesh Mixer or Fusion 360. Sorry, not Fusion 360. What is it? It's Autodesk, isn't it? But I can't remember what it is. Anyway, we use the Autodesk software. Alien Queen. So she's a free model off of Thingiverse, which was really surprising. I scaled her up because I hate myself, and then I used a lot of color shift paints.
Well, thank God she don't have a cape.
yeah, she doesn't have a cape. No. So with that's a rattle can of gloss black. And then I use color shift paints from Green Stuff World, and they give like an it's 2 or 3 coats, but it gives like an iridescence to it, so the skin looks wet but oily.
Wow.
Yeah. So Grace, when it comes to leather, it's all about layering. So what makes leather look like leather is making it look worn, because almost no leather stays leather looking really until for very long. As soon as you bend over or you crouch or you move or whatever, you get a crease in it, or you get the leather starts to wear. So layering is absolutely key when it comes to doing that. Green Stuff World actually have a leather kit that Mike did with his Jack Sparrow and that one was really good.
I quite like buying the kits of paints and trying them out, because that's what they suggest is the color palette you should use for something. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. The Vallejo skin tone, don't like that at all. I don't like the way you apply it. I don't like the way it looks. But then stuff like the leather kit and the rust kit work perfect.
So 3D Makers Hub. I mean, I'm still learning every day.
Everybody's always learning something new from somebody.
Yeah. So I have a ridiculous amount still to learn about tuning my machines. I've still not delved into the world of linear advance and things like that. And I need to if I want to get my prints to be sort of tip-top quality. When it comes to painting, until about 3-4 years ago, I hadn't painted any of my models. All of my models I printed in a filament and I just left them like that. Mike used to print Warhammer.
I used to paint Warhammer.
Considerably younger. And everything I know or everything I do with regards to painting is because Mike patiently sat down and taught me. But I was convinced that I was never going to be able to paint anything and that it was pointless trying for ages. And he was trying to convince me, and I just wouldn't believe him.
Well, a problem that a lot of people have is they'll get paint that's too thick and they don't thin it out and they glob it on, and then it's like, what happened?
The right paints are key. Using model paints makes a big difference.
Skin tones are very hard. Skin tones are hard to get right, and eyes. I'm still trying to figure out eyes. I get on my glasses, I get a magnifying glass, and they're so darn hard. Whether you use a toothpick or a small brush, it's so hard to do eyes.
Yeah.
Go on to the next. Oh, wow.
So that is Gambody again. It's Vizarian, one of the dragons. I chose to do him as an ice dragon. He's currently bolted. He's currently bolted to my ceiling because I don't have anywhere else to put him. That was
The wingspan
one
on
of
that
the
is pretty
first big
huge.
models I did with an airbrush. Yeah,
Excellent.
so that was one of the first big ones with an airbrush. So the really good thing, and this, so a lot of our good models or our really good looking models end up being from Gambody, and the reason is because there's an artist who makes them. There is a team that then makes sure the file's error free and everything else. But there's a team that prints them as well. So things like with that Vizarian, his top jaw, his bottom jaw, his teeth, and his tongue are all separate prints. So because of that, you can print them all super clean. Because the worst thing you ever have is when something's got its mouth open, you print it, and then what you've got is a thing with a mouthful of supports that you've then got to take out, and you'll probably snap half the teeth or whatever. And things like that are the things that make a difference when you're doing prints like that, when it comes to the finish.
The Jurassic Park model was the same. The bottom jaw,
yeah,
and the tongue and everything, and the teeth, they all go in as separate parts. So they print perfect. You get a perfect set of teeth. No supports and no missing teeth.
Now, Michael, when you're painting a face or texture, do you do eyes? Once you think you're done and you're going to add whatever makeup or whatever, to finish the model, do you hit it with a light coat of matte finish? That way you don't accidentally wipe it off. If you screw up, you can wipe it off like a clear coat matte finish and then go on the next.
I never clear coat anything. I tend to just hope it goes the way I want it. But then saying that, I have before resprayed the face and started again, where I loved the model up until a certain point, and then I was like, nah, I don't like this, and I'll just scratch it and start again.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of videos by Rafael Roberto out of Mexico, I believe it is, and he takes a lot of nicely printed models or statues, and he'll repaint them for different people. And once he gets something the way he likes, he'll do a quick touch-up of a matte finish. That way, if he screws up when he's flickering the next texture on or whatever, he can wipe it off without wiping everything off and having to start over.
It's a good idea. I just never think that far ahead, to be honest. And I'm
my patience would never allow me that level, because you'd have to wait for the clear coat to dry.
Yeah.
I'm sort of, when I start painting, I don't paint for hours on end. What I'll tend to do is do an hour or so, 2 hours, then I'll go away, and then I'll come back and do another hour or so. So when I start, if I'm going to do something like a face, I know it's going to take me an hour or two, so I tend to just hit it. Once the face is done, I'll put it aside, and then I'll come back later on and I'll start on the hair or something like that. It's just, I tend to do all my painting in stages. I'll sit down, I think I'm going to do this. I'll do it, and then I'll go away.
Do either one of you guys have any other hobbies other than 3D printing? Do you have any other hobbies that you're involved in? Or things that you do?
Yeah,
I love watches. I love watches.
Watches?
Yeah. I love all watches.
I don't. So we used to. So me and Mike met. We used to go shooting. We used to do air rifle shooting and things like that. Then we were doing cigars for a while. And
then two hobbies were at the same time, and we sort of met through them.
Yeah. But then eventually those turned out that it was actually really cold wherever we were going.
Well, in the UK, you can only own bird guns, right? Shotguns for shooting birds, basically.
No, if you can't have a shotgun unless you're licensed, which is not an easy process to get.
Huh.
But air rifles, up to a certain power, you can just go and buy.
Okay.
Yeah. If you go down the licensing route, you can get a 303 AR-15 if you want. It's just it can only be single. It can only be bolt action. You can't have or single shot. Sorry, you can't have semi-auto. You can't have anything like that.
Yeah, that way if there's a problem, somebody could take you down before you had the chance to reload or something.
Well, yeah, but I mean, none of the police have a gun, so it's probably pretty tricky. Like, it's always got to be whoever the first one who stands up is the one who's going to get is going to get shot, and then everybody else is fine. So it's just whether or not you pay people enough to be the first one to stand up, and we don't. So, that is Viking Thor. It's supposed to be Thor, but I printed his Mjolnir. The size that I did it, the Mjolnir didn't come out nice. So I ended up doing the axe instead. So he just sort of became a generic Viking man. That was before I learned how to do hair properly as well, because his hair is like super yellow.
Very nice, very nice. And the next model I have, but like everything else, I have not painted it from Sanix. I do have that.
Yeah, so that was a fairly quick one, actually.
150%.
I think that's about 150, maybe 200% scale. I just used a gold pen to go over his sort of try and make him look a bit like Iron Spider rather than just sort of generic and flat.
Lines are so hard to do. I wish all designers on a Spider-Man would have them recessed into the head. That way I can use a wash and I can wipe it off, or a paint.
So
wipe it off.
For most of those types, I just use a pen. It's just so much easier to just draw it on with a fine nib pen.
I did a big Spider-Man, and what they actually did was recess all the black parts on the suit. If anything, that took forever. A few weeks ago, I bought some paint pens that you're talking about. I've never owned them before. I haven't tried them. But when I had the Spider-Man, I tried to take a Sharpie, like a magic marker, and it didn't work for me. But I did buy some paint pens, a set of them, all different colors. And I just got one recently that's chrome. And it's like, wow, this is so cool. It's like a chrome pen.
Yeah,
the chrome one. I know they're supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I airbrush chrome, but I bought that chrome pen, and you fill up the tip, and it's got like a hard plastic tip. That thing is so cool.
Yeah, and so whenever it comes to doing chrome, it is all about the surface.
Yeah, black typically.
Yeah, and a lot of metallics. You know, if you want that to look like chrome, then you got to put a lot of filler on, and you got to get rid of every single layer line, because any layer lines you got, even with the chrome pen, it just shows. So I know you're doing the Ecto 1 at the moment, aren't you? And you've got a lot of chrome on that.
And if you go over it more than one coat, now you got silver, because that black has to like bleed through that first coat carefully. And if you go over it, you just killed it. It looks like silver spray paint. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got there's an Aclad paint that we've got, haven't we? You actually do a base coat of silver, and you go over with the chrome paint, and it's good.
Yeah,
it's like almost.
Yeah, I like Aclad. They've got some great colours, and it sprays perfect for an airbrush.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen here, and I'll pull up your guys' website on YouTube.
So our YouTube's kind of a mix. Mike tends to do the paint tutorials just because he's a better painter than I am. And then I tend to do sort of the reviews of machines and things like that. Our channel's not monetized. We don't have enough people for a start, but we don't receive any incentives or anything. So the reviews are as unbiased as we can make them, I think. We don't any reviews.
Yeah, any reviews we've done, we've never been paid for them or anything. So if it's a good machine, it will get a good review.
Yeah, and then
there's the links to you guys in the description below. Anybody watching, please go to their channel, click on their link, like, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified the next time they go live or post a video. Yeah, these are awesome guys here, and they got some awesome work.
So you're getting dangerously close to the sort of the first lots of videos that we put up, and they were mainly filmed on really old phones. So some of the older content we're in the process of reshooting now to try and sort of update it a little bit. So it's actually.
Well, we've got better cameras now, and we've got proper cameras. So some of them older videos we can now redo, and you can actually see what you're looking at.
Yeah, I used to use some really funky music in my movie studio Platinum that I used to use as like one note and play through it. And people are like, why did you do that? Why did you play that? Well, I was still learning. I mean, I still Now I try to get copyright free music off YouTube and try to find things that sound better. But a lot of my early stuff was real corny. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
a lot of
all of our early stuff was just out of focus.
Or copyrighted. Or got copyright notices because we use music. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on any current videos I do, I only try to have 10-second clips or less, so I don't want to get hit with a copyright strike. Or like Ghostbusters, I won't play the whole song. I would like to. I'll just do a quick clip from a movie or something. And I try to keep it real short.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So that's a rocket raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. I cannot for the life of me remember where I got the ESTL from. So I did and it's probably on one of the pictures. I did a Chris Pratt.
Yeah, you went through a phase of Guardians of the Galaxy, didn't you?
I did go through a phase of Guardians of the Galaxy. That ended at Yondu. So this Chris Pratt, his face actually looks like Chris Pratt, and I love models like that where they actually manage to make it look like the actor. You know, and I loved that. And then I did the rocket. I then did a Yondu. Unfortunately, the Yondu, I was doing my final wash, which I thought I was putting on a nice nun oil wash. Turned out it was a nun oil gloss, and I basically ruined the model because the whole model has now got like weird glossy patches in it, and there's not really a way to get that off other than literally just coating the model.
I have that, but obviously it's not painted, but I did print that.
So that one was one of the first large models that I did. Although it looks like it's on the shelf, it's actually not. It's screwed to my wall, and I built the shelves around it because I needed shelves. So, but the bat signal in that works, and it's all like battery. Yeah, the buildings all light up and everything. But that was one of the first big models that I ever did. And the Batman's actually all in resin. I did that on my Photon, and obviously the base is actually hollow because it's sort of just a big flat platform.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Sauron. This was when a large portion of my spirit died. So this, and we were talking about this earlier as well. I hate capes. I hate capes. They're awful. I hate printing them. They are organic shapes that you're trying to print on a machine that only understands left, right, up, down, and whatever. So it's an organic shape on a mechanical machine. Very difficult. The cape on this took me about 3 times as long as printing the actual Sauron. So the Sauron itself is about 950 mil tall, and the cape just took it just took so long. And what's more annoying is that particular model, you can actually print it without a cape. But I thought, oh no, the cape really sets it off. But the cape is thick as well. It's not just a thin, like some of the cape sections are like doorstop size. They're that really annoyed me. I didn't like that model. Oh yeah, that's where the dragon ended up, because I didn't have anywhere else to put it, so he ended up on the ceiling.
Very nice. There's another Sanix model.
So that's not meant to be wall mounted. It was wall mounted because the size just meant that there was nowhere. I had no desk space where I could put it, and certainly no shelves where I could put it as well. And then he was one of the first victims of coronavirus, because I came down one day and he just completely committed suicide and thrown himself onto one of my Sidewinder beds. So
there's Nico Industries and Thanos. I'm not sure who that's from.
The Thanos is a Sanix one, I think.
Okay.
Maybe a Gambody, actually. No, maybe it's Gambody. Yeah, so that was meant to be the finger snap. It does look a bit like Tony's about to service Thanos, but it's
I printed that like 150%, and I've got a lot of layer lines in his legs, so I don't want to throw away the print. I just need to one of these days take the time to fix it, because I had a lot of problems when I printed that.
Yeah, that one was one of my first attempts at rub and buff as well. and it changed my life when it comes to doing metals. I just
rubbing up is great stuff.
Oh, it's brilliant. Gives you the tarnish, gives you the grooves, gives you the highlights and the lowlights, gives an actual metal look. Oh, it's great.
So, if I could ask Michael, are you married? Do you have kids, pets?
So I'm married, and I've got a dog.
Cool. What kind of dog?
Ish.
Sort of, yeah. It's a tiny little dog. It's a cross between a pug and a Shih Tzu.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Stella. She's mental, and what James describes as a quarter of a dog.
Yeah. Basically a cat.
Yeah, it's cat size. A small cat. A small cat. But yeah,
James,
that's it. Yeah.
James, are you married? Kids?
Yes, married, no kids. I've got a dog. I've got a Labrador, which, as everybody knows, is a proper dog. And when people say dog, they immediately think of a Labrador, which is why I have one. He's just super lazy. So he just sleeps. And
the two years have a lot in common, to be honest.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, we do, to be fair. Yeah. They say that dogs definitely take on their owners' attributes, and he is properly lazy.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my chat here real quick. Hello, Marcus. How you doing?
You have a dog cat. I previously had a dog cat. I had years ago. I used to breed bulldogs, and got a cat while we already had two bulldogs. And because this cat had no other cat friends, it thought it was a bulldog, which was weird. Like, took dogs for a walk, the cat would come. Yeah, and it took on the persona of a bulldog. Cats are not generally that lazy, you know. They get around about. No, not this cat.
Cats are like women; they never listen to anything you say. They do what they want to do. So
yeah, well, they're just biding their time until they kill you.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Okay, the next model. This is as cool as a war rig. I think this is really awesome. You know which one I'm going to pull up, right?
Probably, yeah. So this is this was an accident, and I love it. So it's a little hard to tell from the picture, but that is 1.2 meters wide by about 1.1 meters long. It's one of, if not the biggest print I've ever done, certainly. I think Mike's war rig might top out a little bit. It's then got about 10 meters of LED strip on the inside and a little Arduino to control the lights. So you can't see in the picture, but the lights pulse when they're on. So that was an exercise in learning how to make that work.
So what kind of infill are you guys using? Like 5 or 6% infill? You're not using a lot, I hope.
Yeah, so we're using. It kind of depends on what the part is. So if we're doing a base, it depends on how the model sits on the base, because obviously if the model is a little precarious, then we need that base to have a little bit of weight to it. So we don't normally go over 10% for sure. Doing that, so that's actually completely hollow inside. So that they print as, I think it was about 40 odd sections. It's a gun body model again. I scaled it up because, you know, why not? And I've actually put I ringlets in and D rings in the wings and at the front so that I can hang it from the ceiling, which was my original plan until I tried to hang it from my ceiling and it pulled part of my ceiling down. So
if you can't find a stud, use toggle bolts.
Yeah,
they spring open.
Yeah, I tried putting it up in here, and it was just a non-starter. So
it was just too big anyway. You could have it hanging from your ceiling, but what you couldn't do was stand up.
Yeah.
Who is this person here?
So that is Yulia, who is the wife of the owner of the 3D print shop that's near to us. So
Okay.
we're very lucky that near to us is a shop called 3D Filer Print. They're the UK's like largest filament stockist.
Wow.
So it's like going into a candy store whenever you go in there.
Awesome.
They've got
You're talking
everything.
like thousands of rolls of filament they have in stock at any one time. Right.
Okay.
And it's better. So they've got a lot of different colors and everything else, but the best thing about it is they've got so many different materials. So it's metal infused filaments, it's nylons, PLA pluses, ABSX, ASAX. They've even got commercial level stuff. So they've got their peaks and all that sort. So yeah, it's if you have an application, then they more than likely had the filament for it. They've got all the Markforged filament as well for the metal printing and stuff. It's really
my
cool.
wife wanted to mention on my Hypercube up here, I'm reprinting a Mandalorian helmet by Nico. He came out with another version where it's got all kinds of electronics and padding inside. So when you look at it, it looks like it has all kinds of electronic gizmos in it. And it's about, I don't know, a little over halfway done. So I'm printing it.
Are you printing it upside down or top way up?
No, I done it correctly. I sliced with simplified 3D. When I first put it in there, I went ahead and added all the supports. I turn it sideways, and I sit there for an hour, and I uncheck all the inside supports since I don't need it. But before, when I went to slice the model, the program locked up, and I just wasted an hour.
It only ever does that when you've spent a god-awful amount of time.
Yeah, I forgot to I forgot to save it. So then I did it again this time, which I never do. I manually added them where I wanted them. I said, I'm not going to go through that again. So, and I hear
we had this conversation on the stream the other day, didn't we? And it's just that Simplify 3D is a really, I mean, so we use Simplify for both of our machines or all of our machines. And the only reason we use it is frankly because we paid for the software. So it's a bit like we paid the money for it, so we're going to use it.
Yeah.
But Prusa Slicer, the new Prusa Slicer now has like paint on supports, which is amazing.
Have you tried it? I haven't tried it.
I have tried it, and it's as it says on the tin. It is really easy to use. The new Prusa Slicer has also now got stock profiles in it for other machines other than Prusa's. So it's a lot easier to to start out with a half decent profile and go from there, especially if you've got, Enders and CR10s and things, they've got preset profiles for those that you can go in and tinker about with.
Wow.
So this is a model from Printable Scenery. We hadn't really done any ships.
Oh, there's a model there? Oh, okay. I'm joking. Anyway.
So the masts are actually wooden dowels, and then all of the rigging is like bungee cord, like a stretchy
like an elastic
cord.
string, isn't it?
Yeah, like an elastic string. And I really wasn't sure about originally I wasn't going to do the rigging. And then I started doing it, and I thought, oh no, it does actually. It makes the model look really nice.
There's a model. I know you guys have seen it online. It's not a 3D print. It's similar to this. It's a ship with like a million little
skulls
stuff. It's huge. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's modeled off of the opening scenes from Black Sails.
Okay.
And that one it's actually a scrimshaw, so it's made out of bone. It's amazing, and there's been so many people who have said if this was an STL, I'd buy it. And every single 3D modeler who's looked at it has just said, no, thank you. The
good thing about these printable scenery models is almost all of it prints with no supports.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. So there's no surface scarring, nothing. That actually prints in 3 sections.
Yeah.
So there's the front bow section, a middle core section, and a rear section. And actually, despite the size of the print, you'd think it takes ages to print that. But actually, that's about 100 hours, and the whole thing was done. And it's not small, it's large.
There's a lot of times I go to print a model and I slice and I think about it, and once I'm printing, it's like, wait a minute, I should have done this. But now it's already printing, and I can't change it. There was a better way of doing whatever I came up with. But
Yeah, my worst one is leaving infills. Wally, Gambody model,
So
blew him
cool.
up 200%. That was, I really like him
You
actually.
guys,
So
you guys buy stock in Game Body? You have a lot of Game Body models here.
you know, it's genuinely that they just they do some really nice models, and you don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to assemble correctly at the end. But as well, they do a lot of sales as well. So like you can go on and you can like grab models for fairly cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And they just do
well,
stuff that other people
as well,
don't do.
we've both bought models from other places before that looked really cool. And when you start printing them and trying to put them together, we've been like, oh, this is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas with Gambody, you know, it's going to go together. It's going to go together easily, and it's going to go together properly.
Do those
What's
tracks?
interesting?
Those tracks?
Yeah,
move?
the tracks are completely articulated.
Oh,
Yep.
cool.
All of the wheels have bearings as well. What's weird is that so the lenses are actually lenses. Side note, our friend was building his own DSLR machine, and he brought refraction lenses for his LED array.
Oh, cool.
So that when they went on, it reflected the light. And yeah, he wasn't using them, so I stole them and then I stuck them in his eyes, and they literally fit perfectly. So that was really good. So Viking Thor. Where can you get it, Travis? You can get Wally from Gambody.com. I'll send you the link if you need.
I think it's actually on sale at the minute and all.
I think it is, yeah. So that is, Viking Thor. That's Eye of Agamemnon, I think, which is the one that Doctor Strange wears with the time stone in it. It's a Death Eater mask from Harry Potter. Agamotto, is it?
No, Eye of Agamotto.
Anyway, it's the one from Doctor Strange.
It's the time stone.
It's the time stone one. So then we've got the Death Eater mask, and then next to that is the Tom Riddle diary, which has got the basilisk claw stuck in it.
Okay.
That was a ridiculously quick print, and yet when anyone comes round, that's the one they all love. Sitting in my dining room at the moment, they're really
very nice.
Big fans of that.
Whereas whenever anyone comes round to me, my Harry Potter one is the one they all hate.
Oh God, your one's so disturbing though. That's why it's upsetting.
So you've probably seen there's quite a few Dobby statues, Dobby models. When the first one came out, I'm not even sure where it came out from.
I think it was a Colts one.
I printed like a life-size Dobby, and where his hands are together at the front, a lot of people put a sock in his hands. What I did was put Bellatrix's dagger and stab him in the belly and put all blood on it.
Mm-hmm.
And most people are not happy about it.
That got us banned from a couple of groups. So Fallout armor, power armor from the game. That's the Magneto that I did, that we remixed the Ian McKellen head onto, and then Star-Lord.
Very nice.
Star-Lord's a very, very nicely modelled model.
It's my favourite print that James has done. It's my favourite print and paint job that he's done.
Yeah, I do. The skin tone came out right, which is fairly rare for me. Jurassic Park, iconic scene where the boy's hiding in the kitchen.
Yes.
That is what's his name? Michael Baleris. He's got a Patreon. And that's really cool. That came out exactly how I wanted it all to look. I'm really happy with that one.
I'm just trying to keep up with Chad here when I got to jump.
That's fine. Yeah. So Colts 3D. Yeah, they do decent models on Colts 3D. It's just the thing is that you can sell your models, but your model could be trash. You know, there's no vetting process on Colts. It just is what it is. So Gambit is from Sanix and Cable.
I think it's from Special STL.
Oh yes, it is. That's right. Yes, Special STL one. Yep. Can't really see there, but there's actually another portal with Deadpool's hand reaching through, and he's got the little teddy bear.
Okay.
I like this.
That is a Colts 3D model. That is a Red Riding Hood and obviously the big bad wolf. So that one, I had a G-Tech A30 at the time, which was just hot garbage, and Jerry, I'll grab the link for Gambody. I'll post it in the private chat for you.
Is that what he was asking for, Gambody, Travis?
Yeah, he wants the
I like this new look of StreamYard. Everybody watching, this is pretty cool. How when I pull something up on the screen, it shows their name in one color, and then kind of comment comes up white like that.
Bear me 1 second.
And here's another close up of that one I showed a bit ago. It's out of order when I uploaded it. That's awesome.
And I think that was all rubber buff, weren't it?
Yeah. So to be fair, that paint job was crazy quick. So the thing I love about rubber buff is that you get a really cool effect, and you really don't have to. You don't have to fiddle about.
Was that done with a rag or a brush, or how do you apply it on that?
Just a rag. Just literally, you put a little dab onto a bit of paper, you put it a little bit on the rag, and then you just skim over it nice and quickly. I think painting all the armor for that probably took about 20 minutes.
What if you get an area too heavy with rub and buff where it's solid and you put too much on in one spot? How do you clean it off?
So I'm not gonna lie, it's hard because it's a wax paint, so it's really hard to get off. And rub and buff eats brushes. So if you put rub and buff on a brush, it'll work, and you can actually get it. You can actually properly apply it.
Thank you very much, Loyal, for the $9.99. Thank you very much. That's awesome.
So you can apply rub and buff with a brush, and what you'll get is a completely solid metal look rather than hitting the highlights and things like that. So you can apply it that way, but the problem is that once you've got that wax in your bristles, it's really hard to get off. You can get some of it off with like IPA, and it gets some of it off, and you might be able to use IPA to sort of weaken it down a little bit. But in all honesty, if I get rub and buff somewhere where I shouldn't, generally speaking, I have to paint over it. So
here's that link to Gambody right there. We jump into the next one here. Nice.
Yeah, Mandalorian helmet and the rifle. Rifle was a Colts 3D one. The rifle's actually mainly wooden dowels. So there's 2 wooden dowels that run down the length of the rifle, and the whole thing assembles onto that. And then the rest of it is obviously printed and painted and rub and buff.
We still got a bunch of pictures here. We're going to run over a little bit. Is that okay with you guys?
That's fine by me.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, this is from Alfredo. I can't pronounce his name, but he was on my live stream like 6-8 months ago.
Yeah, so it's part of a series. So that one's obviously the Joker mask. There's a Batman, there's a Catwoman, there's a Harley Quinn, and I feel like he did another one. I think he did a Riddler as well. And they're really cool. They're really cool models. Like they're really the effect that he did. It's meant to look like sculpture. It's really, really nice. They came out really nicely. What I'd probably do if I was doing them again is there's a few filament providers that do like copper infused filament, and you can actually submerge the copper infused filament in salt water, and it tarnishes, like it oxidizes like copper, and it would look amazing.
There's a Hulk busting through a wall.
Yeah, that Hulk's actually above my monitor now. So I can't. That was from Special STL.
Yeah,
that was a few years ago, and all they released that. And when I was looking for somewhere to mount it, I had a space above my monitor and under a shelf, so I stuck it on there. And it's actually perfect size for when I'm not using my headphones. They actually sit on the Hulk's head. So he looks like, he's actually got a big gold chain around his neck as well. So he's like Street Hulk.
Okay.
Red light. Which model? Yeah, that's the Cable again. Cable is probably actually one of my favorite paint jobs. Cable came out exactly how I wanted him to. I hate painting yellow. So yellow, you have to prime in white to begin with. Otherwise, the yellow just doesn't come out.
Yellows are hard.
Oh, it's awful. But then I just managed to hit it in the right way. That the weathering came out nicely, and his guns and everything came. The print quality was nice, and yeah, he's probably one of my favorite models.
Have you guys got models from the group 3D Model Crowdfund over on Facebook? They've got tons and tons of awesome models.
Yeah. We've got a lot of their models.
Tony Chambers came out with a spawn like Nico did it, and I printed it for my son at 250%. It's like 32 inches tall. It's a huge spawn character. Really good.
To be honest with you, we hoard models.
Yeah.
So we have got so many models on our drive that even if we started printing now, we never get through all of them. You know, Red light. You asked where we can get the model. Which one? we've been rattling through them quite quickly.
Yeah, I'm getting slow on.
So that is a speeder bike, which now doesn't look like that. So there's a rod that sits in the back of the speeder bike that goes into the trail. And when it got,
we had a big heat wave here this summer.
We had a really big heat wave. It got quite hot in my office, and he's now sort of drooped and he's gradually veering towards me quite violently.
So it looked like he's just shooting off the base.
I have a Supergirl model I did from Sanex at like 250%. And she sits way up here, up high on a shelf. And after about 2 years, she just fell off the shelf and broke. We had no earthquake. I don't know what happened, but she hit the ground and broke in 4 or 5 pieces.
Which is exactly what Iron Man did. So Iron Man was mounted on the wall. Nothing changed. You know, he was screwed to the wall, and he had fishing wire going back to hold him up. And then I just came down in the morning, and he just thrown himself into one of my prints. It was really helpful.
That's awesome. TIE Fighter.
T-70, one of the new X-Wings from both the Star Wars TV series, and I think it's also in the last Star Wars film. But it's not the same X-Wing that that Luke Skywalker does.
Wow.
Because Luke, it's the newer version of that. Gan body model again, blown up 210%, I think. So I think it works out to a 1:16 scale, maybe. T1000. I do not remember where it is from. Maybe a Gan body model, probably.
It's part of the Gan body diorama.
Yes,
so
that's right. I can do the rest of it.
You just did that because you were bored one day.
Yeah, that was It's a boring paint job, unfortunately. Mysterio. So Mysterio is one of my new favorites. I really, really like the way he turned out.
So you've just finished this, really? You finished it?
I've literally just finished it. It was a copy of an XM Studio statue that we got done on a private commission. His cape was horrendous to do, and we remixed the head.
Excellent.
Yeah, so the skull is actually from Thingiverse, and it's got like souls in it, I suppose, like ghosts in the skull, and then we resin printed and polished the dome to try and get that as clear as possible. I should have done more, so I should have polished it more, but by that point I'd glued the head on, and it wasn't going to.
Here you guys over on Instagram and Honey Badger Print and Paint. Anybody that's watching, I have links in the description below where you can find both these guys on YouTube and on Instagram. And you're not on Facebook much, are you? Or are you a little here and there? Or?
So we are, but we're on as ourselves. So we post our models in various groups, and then obviously if we're sort of going through painting techniques, we link back to the channel and that sort of stuff. There's
I can't click on it, but this looks pretty awesome here.
So that one is
actually I can't click on it.
Here we go. I should be able to take you on a little journey. Hold on. So this is Weapon X.
Wow.
It's a Wolverine one. that was a real nightmare to do because that so when the original, so that's blown up 350% of the original scale. So that was like there's a relatively inexpensive acrylic tube that you can buy on Amazon that would fit on.
Is this the one from Victor Vasquez, like the one that I did?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I did that a few years ago. He designed that. He done a good job on it.
Yeah, he did. I should have used a heat gun to have bent his fingers, but I didn't.
Yeah, I had to take a heat gun to mine. Yes.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Bolted to the outside of my summer house now because I don't have anywhere else to put it. That is a Warhammer. Is it Titan Adepticus? Is it
Warlord Titan? Isn't it?
Warlord Titan. That's it.
And that's big.
Yeah,
you can't really see how big that is.
That's like 800. That's the Tom Riddle diary. So red light. A large portion of our models are at gambody.com. So if you go back up through the comments, you'll see that we posted a link to Wally. And a lot of the models that we do are on there. Everything else is unfortunately, a lot of them are Facebook groups that are crowdfunded. So things like 3D fingerprints, special STLs, Sanix is another really good one. Coach 3D for some of that stuff.
3D Model crowdfund. I've got a lot of stuff from Dennis. It's really good. Him and his partner.
Yeah, they're all really good. Yeah, Gambody is a fantastic resource to start with, for sure. They've also got all their models are in both FDM and SLA. So if you want to do your stuff smaller but more details, then yeah.
Excellent.
So many models on there that we've got rid of now.
Yeah.
When we just didn't have space, it was like, yeah, that's gonna have to go somewhere.
You guys got any teasers on upcoming projects or things you're working on you might want to tell everybody about?
So I am currently, let me grab this. I am currently working on an AT-80.
Okay, nice.
That's going to be as a crash scene. We've actually bought some electronics which it's going to pump out smoke inside it. So I'm going to do an explosion that's going to be lit and it's going to pulse different colors, the explosion. But a friend of ours who knows a lot more about electronics than we do has found something online. So it's going to be inside the body, but when you turn it on, smoke's going to billow out from the inside of the body. So that's going to look pretty cool. But we've just got to wait for our lockdown to finish so that I can go and see him because I've got no idea how they go together. It's just lots of little packets of things and transistors. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, Arif. I'll bring it to you and you can show me what actually has got to go on with that. Yeah.
Everybody watching, whether you're watching live tonight, tomorrow, next week, whenever you see this, go over to YouTube and subscribe to these guys. Hit the like button or ring the bell. I'm having a problem here. Ring the bell so the next time they do a video or they go live, you know it. Let's help them get over 1,000 subs and get them monetized. And they're great. They do awesome work.
So Marcus, answering your question, yeah, you do get two versions. So TKS, you're right that you can print an STL is an STL, so you can print it on FDM or you can print it on SLA. The difference with Gambody is that they scale it differently. So pretty much all of their models are scaled so that if you print them at 100%, they'll fit on an Ender 3. And then all of their SLA models are cut and scaled so that they'll fit on any cubic. because they're the two sort of most common sizes of printers that most people have.
When you do buy from Gambody, you pick the model you want, put it in your cart, you pay for it, and then what happens is it gives you the choice of what you want to download. So if you want to download the FDM one, you hit download FDM. If you want to download the FDM and the SLA, you download both of them, but it just gives you the choice. You can, if with some models like you do it partly FDM, you do partly resin, download the two of them. So it just gives you the choice. It's save having to download all them files and not use half of them. Yeah. Just to download the ones you want. And you haven't got to download every part of the file either. You can just tick the bits you want to download. But also, so if you don't download them, you don't lose them. You can go back onto Gambody whenever you want, pull down more files, pull them down again if you want. So it stores all your purchases. It shows you when you're on Gambody, it shows that you've purchased that model. So you can just.
And if Gambody ever do an update, you get the free update. So if they update that model because someone's reported an error, then you can just go back on and download those.
Microsoft Builder, or there's some program I know where you can take your parts, you can throw it in and it'll put them back together for you. So if you had a base or something and multiple parts, you wanted to print it in one, I think it's Microsoft Builder. You can throw them in, it'll put it back together.
So it depends on the model. So some models have been cut and keyed, and they are keyed to, it sounds ridiculous, but they're keyed to their keys. So it's key A goes into key B, key C goes into key D, and those will auto assemble. It's not all, unfortunately, because some of them are cut organically, and not, not the way that they need to be. Mike, it's not Fusion that we've got. Netfab, that's it. So Netfab does auto assemble, and it is free. You can get an education license or you can get a non-commercial license. And normally, if you put models in there, it will do a relatively decent job of putting them all back together. And then you just draw a big triangle over them, and then you can put them all as one single model, and it creates one single mesh.
I use Netfab a lot to cut models, or if I have a failed print, I'll go into Netfab, I'll guesstimate where it was at, and I'll slice it. Or in S3D, I can drop it through the bed and guesstimate.
That's what I usually do. Yeah. If I ever have to drop it down into the bed, and
the big problem is you can tell when someone spent time cutting and keying something because they key it organically. So they'll do it so they hide the join underneath a collar, or they'll cut it on an arm where it goes into the sleeve or whatever. The problem with Netfab is I've never been able to key. I can cut things.
Yeah, I've had some designers design models, and I print them out, and they don't go together. So I'm sanding down the keys, and but then sometimes they're perfect, and sometimes they're not.
Yeah, the amount of times I've just cut keys off. You go to put a model together, and the keys they're way out. Like they're not fitting together in a million years. And the amount of times I've cut keys off, and it's like it's just easier. Just glue it.
I use a 2-part epoxy and a spray activator called 2P10. Or an epoxy gel. What do you typically use?
So in the UK, we use a glue and an activator. You can get this off of Amazon.
Okay.
So what that's really used for is for kitchen fitters, for putting the edge trim onto worktops and stuff like that. But the super glue that comes with that, when you use the activator, once it glues, it glues. And we both use that. It glues in like 2 seconds, and it's done. That 2 seconds, and that's a permanent bond.
What I used to do, but I quit doing, is I'd put activator on one side, glue on the other, and stick it together. And it's like, oh no, I misaligned it.
Oh yeah. Now you only get one go with this. You get it right.
Yeah. So now I just glue it, stick it together, line it up, and squirt the cracks.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You only get one attempt with that. If you don't get it right first time, you're in a whole world of trouble.
The only issue I've ever really had is that once you've left your prints alone for a while with that glue, it becomes a bit brittle. So if you drop a print or shock it, or you sort of shake it about, or it gets moved, then your joints can crack. It's not like if you were to use like an epoxy, where essentially it melts the plastic and then it becomes like chemically bonded. It's not
like a gloop, like gloop.
Yeah. When you use ones like that, it's essentially melting the plastic together, and it chemically bonds together.
Yes.
But yeah, they with those ones, it's fine if all you're doing is leaving them on the shelves. But if you're traveling with your prints and the shots of
you go
going over.
You go to a maker fair and you get there and all your prints are broken in the back of the car. And you're like, oh no, now what do I do?
Yeah. So I've had a few where we just go down the shop and and you end up losing. So every time you go around a corner too quickly, you hear a crack in the back, and you're like, oh cool. Well, that's 3 months of my life gone. Cool. And then trying to desperately repair it.
Anything you'd like to say to everybody watching? We need to kind of wrap this up. It's getting late, and I know you guys. It's after midnight over in the UK.
Yeah, it's like 20 past midnight. No, just thanks for having us on. If you guys, we've got some more content coming up. So we've got Mike's 8080 build. I've got a 1990s Batmobile coming, and then probably I'll give a little sneak peek of the 3DQ system. So this is a Ender 3 with the 3DQ system on it, which allows you to queue up prints on a Raspberry Pi and automatically eject them from the machine. So very similar to, say, the 3D print mills, the belt machines, but instead of being a belt machine, it's just a standard Ender 3 with some, with an extra aluminium extrusion, a new bed type, and it allows you to queue up your prints and just remove that downtime. So we're testing that at the moment with the 3DQ guys. And then we'll get a video out of that as soon as we can. That's quite an exciting one.
We tend to have our videos. We tend to have a video come out weekly because we shoot our videos and we queue them up. So we always have some content.
You're welcome on my Facebook group to post your next video. Every time they come out with a video, you're welcome to post a video there.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So you guys, I thank you very much for coming on. You guys have a happy new year, and I'll be right back with you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks very much, man. See you soon.
1 second. Hey, that was another great stream, guys. If you came in late, go back to the beginning. They got so many amazing prints and things that they painted here and they printed. It was an awesome stream. I loved having them on. And thank you all for stopping in. And, please give me the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to donate or get some discounts, there's ways below in the description you can do that. But tomorrow's New Year's Eve, and it's going to be a great new year. There'll be a lot of great things happening. I plan on having a lot of awesome content all next year. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming. Please like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And for those that donated to me on PayPal or on Super Chat, thank you very much. It helps me more than you'll ever know. I really appreciate it, and everybody have a good night. Happy printing, everybody.